Hey guys, welcome back again to my channel. I am Grace, and in today's video I'll be showing you how to make this really cute simple maxi dress with a statement puffy sleeves with straps and a waist strap you could cinch around the waist or make looser like so, and with straps at the back to tie the neckline. So without any further ado, let's just jump right into the video. So written on the screen are some of the items you'll be needed for this project right here, so let's just jump right into the video. So starting off with the front bodice, I'm going to create the side dart, and in order for me to do that, what I like to do is I like to fold the paper where the side dart is like so, and it makes it easier for me to just trace the side dart onto the main fabric, and you're going to trace it on the wrong side of the fabric. After tracing it on this side right here, I'm going to repeat the same steps to the other side of the front bodice, and this is what you'll have. Okay, so after doing that, you're just going to fold it like so, then you pin it down in place. You remember when you're sewing a side dart or any dart for that matter, you backstitch first when you start, but when you get to like the nipple area there, you don't backstitch, you just sew till you just bring it out like this, and you create knots yourself. That way it prevents the bust area there from looking it prevents it from just having this weird look, so that's why you do that. So now you're just going to place the front and the back bodies together like so, having right sides facing each other, and you're going to pin the shoulder seam like you can see me do, and you're going to sew it down using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. You're going to repeat the same step to the facing of the fabric. So you're placing the front and the back facing together. You pin the shoulder seams and you sew it down using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now for the back strap, you're going to fold it into two like so, having right sides facing each other, and you pin it down and sew one edge, one short edge, and the long side, leaving the other short edge open to have it turned right side out. You see what I'm talking about in a bit. After sewing like this, you pivot the fabric like this, then you sew it down and don't forget to backstitch. So after doing that, you just trim off the excess fabric, then using a hairpin, which was easier because the strap is quite narrow. You just use this in turning your fabric right sides out. So now from the back bodice there, you go down by 1/2 inch, and you're going to pin the back straps there like so. Then after doing that, you're going to pretty much place the right side of the the bodice to the right side of the facing, both the front and the back, facing each other, and you're going to pin it down in place before sewing it to prevent it just from moving around. And what I like to do is I like to pin the side seams first, or in this case the shoulder seam, then pin the rest, and I'll just sew it all around like you can see me show you right there. So after doing that, you're just going to create notches, especially in the areas where it might be difficult for you to have a neat look when you turn the fabric wrong sides together. After creating the notch, you're just going to poke out the back straps like you can see me do, then just turn the facing inside, so you're having the wrong sides of the facing to the wrong side of the bodice. So it is very important for you to create your notches first before you do this process, or else you wouldn't have a neat look like this. After doing that, I like to just iron as I go, just makes it neater. So after doing that, you're going to top stitch the facing right there, and whenever I top stitch, I like to just spread the fabric like so to prevent me from stitching the wrong area. So after doing that, the next step is to align the shoulder seam of the bodice to the shoulder seam of the facing, After making sure that I align it like so, I'm just going to pin it down and I'm just going to go back and forth along that line right there and sew it down. The reason why I'm doing this is to prevent the facing from moving around, inside the fabric or just coming out, which just looks so unneat. So after doing that, this is what you'll have, and you'll see that your facing wouldn't move around again. So now you're just going to pin the side seams together for both the front and the back bodies, having the right sides facing each other, and you're going to sew it down using a half an inch seam allowance. So now we're going to move over to the skirt panel. So what I'll do is go down by 2.5 inches from the waistline for the first tier, and I'm going to place my pocket there, having right sides together, and I'm going to sew it down using a half an inch seam allowance. So after doing that, you're going to place the front and the back skirt panels together like so, and you pin it down, then you just sew everything down in place from the waistline, the pocket area, down to the bottom of the first tier skirt panel. After doing that, I'm just going to go down from the shoulder, from the pockets, seam right there, and pin it down to create an opening for the pocket while I sew the bottom edge in place. So the next step is to create my waist strap casing, and in order for me to do that, I'm going to just iron this first to prevent it from looking all wrinkled up. Then at the edge, I'm going to go inwards by half an inch on both sides and iron it down in place. And you're just going to sew that down, but before sewing it, I just want to make sure I iron everything down in place first. After doing that, I'm pretty much going to do the same thing to the long side, which is going inwards by half an inch, and I'm just going to iron it in place, and I'm going to repeat the same step to the other side of the fabric. So after doing that, this is what you'll have. So I'm just going to sew the short edge down in place like so. So now we're going to move over to the second or the third skirt panel. Okay, so pretty much like what you did with the first tier skirt panel without the pocket seam attached to it. So you're just going to pin the sides together like so, and you're sewing it down in place. And now for the first tier skirts panel, I'm going to find the center first before I create a loose stitch or a gathering stitch, and I'm going to gather that to my waist measurement, and I'm going to pin the center piece of the skirt panel, both the front and the back, to the center line of the front and back body. So that was why I marked it first before creating the gathers, because it's easier for you to mark first before creating the gathers, as opposed to finding the center of the gather of the skirt after it's been gathered. It's just difficult. So after finding the center, you pin it in place, then you do the same thing with the side seams and sew it all around. Okay, so you're going to repeat the same step to the second and the third skirt panel. So you're going to gather the top of the third skirt panel to the measurement of the second skirt panel's bottom. I hope that makes sense. So after you gather the third skirt panel to the hem of this second tier skirt panel, you just pin it down in place, and you're going to sew it down using the half an inch seam allowance. So now we are going to insert our waist strap casing. So what you do is to find the center of your front bodies, and you go inward on both sides by 1 inch, so you have a total of 2-inch opening there, and you're just going to place your waist strap casing there like so, and you're just going to pin it down first before sewing around. So I just find it doing it this way easier for me. So after pinning everything down, you're just going to sew both sides of the waist strap casing in place. So now that we're done doing that, we're now going to attach the second and third tier skirt panel to the rest of the body. So the reason why we attached it after sewing in the strap casing rather than before is because if you attach the entire skirt panel first before trying to sew in the casing, it's just going to be a lot of work and trying to pushing so much fabric in between your sewing machine, which in my own opinion was just unnecessary. So that's why I decided to just attach the first tier skirt panel first to the bodice before the rest. So now we're going to start do the sleeves, and we're going to fold it having two equal parts, and we're going to create a notch at the center down there to just mark the center of the sleeves. Okay, so after doing that, you're just going to fold the right sides together and sew the edge down using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. After sewing it down using a 1/2 inch seam allowance, the next step is to create your casing at the hem of the sleeves, and you're going to fold it inwards first using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then you're just going to iron it all round first. After doing that, you're going to fold it again inwards using a 3/4 inch seam allowance. That's 0.75 inches, and you're just going to iron that in place. You could iron it in place or you could pin it down in place. I find ironing it down in place with this particular fabric easier because it just gives the line right there, and I do not need to pin it afterwards. After doing that, you're just going to sew it all around while leaving about an inch or 1.5 inches of spacing to insert your elastic band through. So inserting your elastic band, what you're going to do is pin one edge of the elastic band to the fabric and insert the other end using a safety pin or a hairpin, and you just pass it through and bring it down to the other side of the opening. Then after doing that, you're just going to place the two sides of the elastic band together, and you're going to sew it down like so. After sewing it down like so, the next step is to just close the casing of the sleeves. So the next step is to create a basting stitch at the top of the sleeve from one side notch to the other side notch. So that's from the front and notch to the back notch. And after doing that, you're just going to pin the sleeves to the armhole of the bodice like so. After pinning it to the armhole of the bodice, you're going to gather the remaining puffy sleeves right there, or the excess fabric, to the measurement of the armhole. Then you're just going to sew the entire sleeves to the bodice using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So now we're going to create the straps for the puffy sleeve, and this part is actually optional. It's just pretty much like a decoration, nothing more. You could literally skip this part. So what you do is just fold the right sides together and sew it using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. After doing that, you trim off the excess fabric using your lip turner or your safety pin or your hairpin. You turn this right sides out. After turning it right sides out, you are going to sew the edge of the you're going to sew the edge of the straps together, but I decided to hand stitch mine to just give a neater finish. We're pretty much going to repeat the same step to the waist strap. That is pretty much sewing it down, having right sides facing each other using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. You trim off the excess fabric and you turn this right sides out and hand stitch the edges, the opening edges. So the next step is to insert the waist strap into the waist strap casing, and in order for me to do that, I'm going to use a safety pin. Pin it to the edge of the strap and insert it into the casing like so. After inserting everything now, this is what you'll have. I'm just going to create like a little hole there and yeah. So now for the sleeves, you find the center of the sleeve and you just pin your strap there and sew it down in place like this, and voila, you could leave it like that or you could create a knot or a bow. And the last but not the least is the bottom of this dress, which is the hemming part. So you're going to fold it twice using a half an inch seam allowance on each fold, and you're just going to hem the bottom of the dress. And your dress is done. This is what you'll have after doing that, and I really love how comfy and free this is. Like I said, it's you could cinch it around the waist using the straps, or you could just leave it as is and just go for a free effect. And I love the straps attached to the puffy sleeves, the big puffy sleeve statement as well. And like I said, you could actually create like a little bow using the straps, or you could leave it as is. Okay, so there are different options in hacking this dress right here. You could make a crop top out of this, you could make a regular top out of this, you could make it sleeveless, you could make it puffy sleeves like mine, you could make this into a midi dress, or you could make this into like short dress. Everything is in the pattern, and you can get the pattern using the link in the description box below. And for this, I'm going to leave a coupon for you guys to get it 50% off on my website, and the coupon is going to be CC 50 off, and this is going to expire 1 week after posting this video. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.